Guru Sri Juta Padakamalang.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to our channel, Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because here we have it, Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labanga Latika. We are reading the 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme, and we are entering a little bit into the cosmology of the Vedas. We have a universe, it has planets, the sun is there, and so on. Our perspective may not be entirely the same as the perspective we get here, and that is because our perspective is based on what we have been able to gather with the help of our senses and our intelligence. Whereas the universe, a lot of it is beyond our ability to see. So we can see what we can see, and we can extend our senses with the help of telescopes and so on, but some things we can't see. And therefore we like to take information from Krishna, because actually he's beyond the whole thing, universe and all of it. So today I'm reading text 17 in chapter 18. No, in chapter 8, text 17. Sastra yoga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduhu ratring yoga sahasrantang tehoratra vido janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. I love this. I love this calculation. I will sit and count on my fingers. I will read it first, though, because purport. The duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dvapara and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom and religion, there being practically no ignorance and vice, and the yuga lasts 1,728,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts 1,296,000 years. In the Dvapara Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion and vice, true virtue being practically non-existent, and this yuga lasts 432,000 years. Yes, so the math here is that the unit of Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. Dvapara Yuga is twice that. Treta Yuga is 3 times that, and Satya Yuga is 4 times that, making the whole age 10 times the so I don't know if I'm just being nerdy here, but I find it very interesting to understand this. And then Brahma, his life is so 432,000. That means 4,320,000 years. That's one kalpa, and 1,000 such cycles is one day of Brahma. His night has the same length. So these are the kind of spans of time we are talking about. In Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the Yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki avatar, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satya Yuga. When the process is set rolling again, These 4 yugas, rotating 1,000 times, comprise one day of Brahma, and the same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years by earth calculation total to 311 trillions and 40 billion earth years. By this calculation, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable, but from the viewpoint of eternality, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the causal ocean there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. So there's a question of perspective, really. And these ages also, sometimes we're wondering, why are they like that? Why do we have this age that has so many problematic factors to it? And then we hear about the Satya Yuga and we're thinking, so why didn't it just stay like that? The point is, we are here in the material world. We come here out of our own desire. We act according to our own desires. We receive the results of our own actions. And periodically, wherever we go in the universe due to our karma, we come back and we take birth as human beings. And if we're very, very, very spiritually qualified, we can take birth as human beings in Satya Yuga and have the opportunity to practice spiritual life, self-realization, again attain to our spiritual position. In Kali Yuga, we can take birth as human beings even if we are not all that qualified. So we come here, and the problems are that it's Kali Yuga. So many bad qualities are there, and people are generally maybe not so qualified for spiritual life. But at the same time, this age allows us to be human beings at all, and to practice spiritual life at all. And especially in this age, we have Lord Chaitanya coming here and giving us this process of Bhakti Yoga, specifically by the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. So we're very fortunate, but it's nice to have a little bit of perspective to that whole situation. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord, in the management of this universe. Therefore he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmaloka, which is the highest planet in the material universe, and which survives all the heavenly planets in the material, in the upper strata of the planetary system. But in due course, Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka are subject to death, according to the law of material nature. So that's one of the projects. The international headquarters of ISKCON, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, is situated in Mayapur, which is in West Bengal in India, where Lord Chaitanya actually appeared 500 years ago. And we are in the process now of building a rather large temple, because we're visited by hundreds and thousands, and some special holidays we may be visited by 1 million pilgrims. So yes, we need to give them accommodations. And the project of that temple is the Prabhupada, we have our Prabhupada who translates and comments this book, and who started the Krishna consciousness movement. And his idea was that in the inside of the dome of the temple we should have a model of the universe. This is not so easy, with all these planets and all these things, that some of it corresponds with what we learn in our own Western view of the universe, and some really don't. And this combination, it will be very interesting. But we have layers of planets, and we have some demigods who, in contrast to our lives, their lives seem fantastic. Brahma's life is the longest of all of them. He lives as long as the universe lives. But at the same time, he will also die. Once his life is over, to him it will feel like 100 years. We also live 100 years, maximum. The demigods also live 100 years, but Brahma's life is this long. We just had it, all the numbers, big numbers. The the regular demigods, their time is also longer than ours. Their day is like our year. When the sun goes up in the summer, that's when the demigods have their daytime. And when the sun goes down, the lower side, in the winter, that's when they have their nighttime. So there's a lot of these informations, and to some they are very interesting, and to some they are just like, it's like a barrier. They're so confusing. How can we enter into this philosophy when they're bringing up these concepts that we never heard about. Still, they are part of the Bhagavad-gita, they are part of Krishna's information about the universe, and they create the background against which we practice our self-realization in this world. I will read another verse. Text 18. Avyaktad vyaktaya sarva prabhavantya haragame ratrayagame praliyante tatreva vyakta sangyake. That's verse 18. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. The next text is 19. Bhuta grama saevayang bhutva bhutva praliyate ratriagame vashapartha prabhavatya haragame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So, the universe have many different cycles. So we hear about Brahma living for 100 years, and at the end of that, the whole universe is again withdrawn into the body of Mahavishnu. I had this idea we should turn this into a puppet theatre at one point. It may not be entirely easy. Mahavishnu laying down in the causal ocean, and from his pores the universe come out when he breathes out. When he breathes in again, the universes are again drawn back into his body. That breath is Brahma's 100 years, and for us it's 311 trillion and 40 billion years. So there's perspective for you. Sometimes we hear about that religions, they have their, it's another word I can't think of, but I'll just say it with other words. The story of creation. And we have it, different religions have different stories. The Bhagavatam gives us two stages of creation, the primary and the secondary. So the primary is the fact that Mahavishnu lays down in the causal ocean, he takes his mystical slumber, his yoga nidra, and there when he breathes out, the universes go out. When he breathes in, the universes come in to his body again. And in each universe, Vishnu also enters in the form of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He also lies down in the bottom of the universe, where he emanates a little bit of an ocean to rest on. And from his navel a lotus grows. On that lotus, Brahma appears. He takes his birth there, and not through a mother or a father, he just wakes up on that lotus in the middle of nothing. We sometimes say we're in the middle of nowhere. Brahma really is in the middle of nowhere. He looks around, it's empty, he can't see anything. He tries to climb down the stem of this lotus. It's just too enormous, he's not getting anywhere. Then he hears a voice that says tapa, which means austerity or penancy. So he sits down and meditates, and from within his heart, Krishna enlightens him to his existence and his job. He gets the job of taking the material of this lotus actually, and he creates the planets. He creates the life forms, and then they appear in time. He creates kind of like the blueprint for it. And then when we look, those who have studied, and they have come to the conclusion that different life forms, they appeared over different periods of time. This may very well be. There is no contradiction really, because they become manifest in due course when it's suitable for the living entities to have those bodies. So here, that's Bhagavatam. Please read the Bhagavatam when you feel ready. Bhagavad-gita just gives a very short glimpse, because basically these things are known. When Arjuna is listening to Krishna, it's not that he has no idea. He has some idea. This is the, how to say, this is the world view of the Vedic times. But here Krishna is bringing it into a specific perspective. We know about Brahma's enormous lifetime. We know about his enormous powers in creating these things in the universe. At the same time, He lives his 100 years, he does his job, then he dies, just like us. And also just like us, he has the opportunity to take up devotional service and after the end of his lifetime go back home, back to Godhead. And our Brahma in this universe, he's actually a great devotee. He's the head of our Sampradaya, our line of disciplic succession. In other universes, maybe he creates the universe, he does his job, and then he looks around and looks at all those fantastic things he did. And he's drawn into this world to experience them birth after birth, to have all the experiences of all those life forms. So there's always a choice. And we always have this choice. And now we could actually use that choice to be very serious about our spiritual life. Purport: the less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets and then again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world, but at the coming of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities, and at night they no longer have bodies, but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again, they are manifest at the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. During the day they become manifest, and at night they are annihilated again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all annihilated and remain unmanifest for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born again in another millennium, they are again manifest. In this way they are captivated by the spell of the material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus they transfer themselves even in this life to the spiritual planet of Krishna and become eternally blissful there, not being subject to such rebirth. So yeah, we like this knowledge, because Krishna doesn't just say, okay, you have to serve me now, and you can't ask any questions, just do what I tell you. Arjuna asks all the questions. Krishna gives all the background, even up to the point of the universal creation. We have this understanding. Of course, Krishna doesn't elaborate on this because these things are more or less known. But whenever Arjuna has a question, then he will come back to it. So yes, I find it very fascinating to hear about the long lifetime of Brahma, to understand all these levels that are available to us. You know, we're not limited. We can take birth in all the different places, in all the different species. And sometimes they have these questions. If you had to take birth again, what would you like to live with? And then the people say, as a cat, because they are so free. They sleep a lot and do whatever they want. Yes, but it's a very limited existence. But certainly it's accessible. Certainly it's possible to take birth as a cat in the next life. Or as a demigod. Or as a human being. I mean, we circle around this over and over again. Brahma doesn't have to circle. He can go back to Godhead immediately. Then the next creation, each universe, so many universes, each universe has a Brahma, which is another living entity, an individual living entity having that specific role, that specific job in that specific lifetime, which seems enormous. But in the perspective of eternity, that lifetime is one breath of Mahavishnu, and who knows, the spiritual world doesn't have time as such. It is an eternal existence. Time is only measured on the material platform. So there's something we can meditate on in our progress of spiritual life. I have, of course, put a lot of links below, because as we are in the 8th chapter, I want to make all the chapters accessible, and YouTube is hopeless for finding things you want. So I have made a playlist for each chapter, and there should also be a link to go to the Swedish side of things, because we do Swedish and English each installment. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare